Hello and welcome to the Property Forum chat show with myself, Nicholas Woolwork, investor, developer and owner of propertyforum.com. On today's show, we'll be answering your questions about property development. Are you unsure which development strategy to choose? Perhaps you've hit a problem managing your current development and are struggling to get the most out of your building team. Or perhaps you're completely new to property development and would like to start off on the right foot. If you haven't seen our show before, each episode is based around a different area of property investment. We take questions from our online forum and we post them to our expert panel here in the studio. If you'd like to get involved in a future episode of the show, please log online to propertyforum.com. You can create a username, it's completely free, and you can pose your questions online. If your questions don't make it onto the show, I'm sure one of our expert panelists will answer it online. We also have a forum membership of over 60,000 users, and they'll be able to impart their wisdom if that helps you. We hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you online soon. To make sure your development runs as smoothly as possible and as profitably as possible, you don't want to miss today's show. With our experienced development experts, Andre Watley, a project manager from Greystoke Projects Limited, and Michelle Barringer, development and investment specialist from Red Brick Wealth. As an experienced developer myself, I know that with the best planning in the world and the most reliable building team on your side, developers can often come face to face with unexpected problems and delays. These always take profit off your bottom line. Using a project manager can be seen as an additional cost, but Andre Watley is here to explain the benefits a project management service can provide. Andre, welcome again. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and background in project management, please?
Thanks, Nick. It's great to be here. I started out my career in project management 8 years ago. I did a degree in quantity surveying and I was employed as a construction consultant and quantity surveyor. I worked my way up from a trainee up to an associate in the business where I was before, and a year ago I decided to branch out and set up Greystoke Projects to offer smaller developers and investors a professional project management service.
Superb, okay. So bringing that experience to the slightly smaller developers to take advantage of your
Exactly. I think
okay.
Larger developers out there who are more established, they know the benefits of having a project manager on side, and I wanted to bring that to the smaller market, the smaller investor, who I feel can benefit from it too.
When it comes to sourcing a great development site, competition will always be high. It's vital to build a strong network around you to ensure you hear about the best projects before your fellow developers. Experienced development sourcing agent Michelle Barringer from Red Brick Wealth explains how to save time when sourcing and how to avoid drawn-out negotiations that could end up falling through, a scenario we'd all like to try and avoid. Michelle, please tell us a little bit about your background with development sourcing and tell us about your experience.
So I work for Red Brick Wealth. We are a property sourcing agent. We source all sorts of projects, off-plan projects, sites with and without planning, and anything in between to do with property. We're often approached by developers asking us for their help to find a buyer for their site, and we're often approached by buyers looking for the perfect site for them. What we do is sit in the middle and help to negotiate a deal and understand what both parties require, and therefore offer them the best opportunity to meet that requirement.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. Right, let's go into some questions from the forum now. Sandeep from North London asks, I have a couple of buy-to-lets, but would like to move more into development, perhaps a house or commercial unit into flats. However, I don't want to run before I can walk. So is there a maximum project size you would recommend for my first development? That's kind of an open question to the panel, really. Andre, would you like to suggest?
It comes down to Sandeep's appetite for risk. It sounds like he wants to, they say, walk before he can run. He's got to find those smaller development opportunities. Speaking to someone like Michelle, to find a deal.
The right deal for him at that time to get going, basically. Yeah.
And appoint a project team to guide him on his way. If he's inexperienced in terms of development, it's very, very important that he appoints people who are more experienced with him
I think that's an
than
excellent
him.
tip, yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise, speak to other developers who started out small and who he can learn from what their mistakes were, so he can hopefully avoid them.
I think that's a fantastic tip. It's in any sort of business environment, property or any other, actually, I think a good tip is employ people that are better than you are in a certain area. It's a common misconception that entrepreneurs and business owners know everything, but they don't. They just know how to employ great people to do certain areas.
Exactly.
I think getting your network in place before you commit to any project is an absolute necessity in this situation. Make sure you've got a good team around you of people who can give you sound advice. I think you also need to educate yourself on the sort of projects you're looking at and your market and your end user, and make sure that all of those things stack up for any project that you're looking at before you make any commitment.
Definitely, and do what Sandeep has done. Join us on the forum, ask questions. There's lots of professionals on the forum that can
It's a great way to build your network.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go on to Emily from Leeds, who's asked a question. What would you say are the top 3 most important factors to choose a good development project? That one's for Michelle.
I think, as I was just referencing earlier, knowing your area, look around what else is on the market, what the options are, look at what your end user is looking for, and make sure that your project is going to meet one of those requirements. Okay. Get to know your developer. Well, if that's yourself, know who you're buying, what you're sourcing, what that is. Get to know all of those factors so that you can make a fully informed decision. Every project will carry a risk. It's about understanding that risk and making sure you're comfortable with that risk and minimising that risk in your development project, whatever that is.
Yeah, okay, all right. Let's go on to a question from George from Edinburgh. This one's for Andre, I think. I'm managing a team of subcontractors at my next development to keep costs down. What are your key pieces of advice when managing a team you've not previously worked with?
Okay, right. Well, it's always difficult when you've not worked with someone before, but we have to start somewhere. If he's managing a team of subcontractors, first thing to do is look at and write down a plan of action in terms of what works need to be carried out. When
so a schedule of works?
Is that schedule of works. You don't need to go into full detail. If you're not a building surveyor or experienced project manager, you're not going to know the full ins and out. But what you can do is, just the headline items. If, for example, with carpentry, replacing doors, we all know what skirtings are. So it's just listing those sorts of items out, so that when you're inviting subcontractors and tradespeople around to quote, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak.
Perfect.
They're all quoting on the same thing, so they're not having to make wild assumptions, and then you don't get wildly varying prices.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Secondly, I would always get more than one quote. Getting more than one quote means that you're getting a competitive price. Obviously, if you've worked with someone before and you know the quality of their work, you can perhaps negotiate with them, but obviously you're not in this situation, so definitely get more than one quote. And when you've decided that you've got the most competitive quote, get references for that subcontractor.
Okay, see their past work as well, perhaps.
Most ideal situation is that you go and see the work and you speak to their previous customers. But nowadays, we are in a very social world, and reputation is everything. Yeah. So if someone's done a bad, sorry,
Google them.
Exactly. Google them, and if someone's had a bad job, they will have put it on the internet, and you'll be able to find out. Yeah. And if the subcontractors are very reluctant to give you their previous customers' details, probably a sign that you don't want to use them. So I'd
red flag.
Yeah, I'd move on from them.
Okay. Also, I think it's probably important to check things like the insurance.
Correct.
Check out their insurance situation, and just make sure that you're covered. You've covered your risks, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a case of being careful.
That's the main thing.
Okay, fantastic. Michelle, question for yourself, Michelle. Sam from Ipswich. Are there any types of development that you think are, as a strategy, generally less risky? For example, commercial to residential, or a larger building into flats, or new build, different strategy that he's referring to. Is there a sort of less risky version? What's for a good entry level?
I think if you're doing your own project, It will vary from area to area, so it will absolutely depend on your end market. If you're in a large city and you know that there's a high demand for rental, then an HMO model may be the less risky option in that market. If you're looking in a student town, you may feel that a student opportunity is less risky in that market. So it really does depend on knowing your market and knowing your end user and looking at your options from that point of view, really, so that
definitely.
you've got a plan in place to minimise your risk.
Yeah, okay, so there's no one answer, it's very much
It
dependent
varies
on
from place to place
location,
and market
model.
to market, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think you could say there is one strategy that fits all with
No.
property ever that will be a banker, really. I think it just varies on you, your budget, your end user and your location.
Makes sense, absolutely. Okay. This is a question from Adriana from Spain, which is fantastic. We're reaching out to Spain. So I'm debating the cost of hiring an independent project manager for my next development. Do you believe the money and time they save always outweighs the cost? What can I do to ensure my PM performs to their best ability? PM project manager. One for you, Andre.
I think so.
Why do they need you?
In a nutshell, yes, and I'm slightly biased because that's what I do. But in all seriousness, yes, a project manager is a risk management tool. You know, when you're investing, when you're in development, that it is inherently risky, and you know you want to limit your risk exposure, and therefore employing a project manager who has the experience, the technical knowledge, is a way to minimise your risk. They can, through their experience, they will be able to foresee problems which you may have overlooked. So the project manager should have a good network of consultants and subcontractors and other tradespeople that they can call upon to assist them in making sure that they're providing you with the best advice. A project manager is there to maintain progress, but they are the centre point of every project, because all information is filtered through them, and that comes back to yourself. And it
helps manage the risk as well, doesn't it? Having someone that
completely
has experience in that role.
It's the experience and protecting you, because especially if you're new, it's
taking the onus off you, I guess. And
exactly, and
someone that knows what they're doing.
Exactly, that's what it's about.
Somebody who can help you overcome issues that you've already got that you didn't know about, that they've experienced previously.
In their early career that they now can impart wisdom on yourself.
They've worked through before.
Yeah, that is the major benefit. In terms of making sure they sort of work to the best of their ability, you've got to appoint them early in the process.
Okay, good tip. Yeah,
it's really vitally important.
Otherwise you're fighting fire, I guess. All the way
through. It's about planning and giving them a clear brief about what you want to achieve with the project and what your objectives are. If you can say that to your project manager, that could be filtered down to the rest of the team, and that is at the forefront of everyone's mind as you move the project forward.
Great, okay, that's great advice, Andre. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Sadly, that's all we've got time for now, but we'll be right back after the break and we'll be discussing small new build developments.